Today we are going to make a Stinger glider. These are the materials I will need to construct the Stinger glider. And this is very good for beginners because the parts come already laser cut. I will need to use a few of these sander, and nowadays I don't use sanding paper anymore. For this project I won't be using the coarse version. I'll be using the medium and the fine grit version. This is a block from the handphone, and this one will be used for support when I need to sand the part to be thinner. I'll be using white tack for balance instead of using the original given clay, which may be a bit more messy to use. A brush for removing sawdust from the sander, and these are the laser cut parts, and it comes with a hook so that it can be propelled by the catapult. I like to use Zap because it's I can control how much of the super glue it will need to come out, and of course the floor plan and the ruler. Now I will work on the edges of the components. This is the main wing, so I will need to create the aerofoil effect. So normally I will use the medium grit sander. Top and bottom. This block will come in handy. Because I will need to get rid of quite a bit of wood from the back. So I will start with the medium grit. Like this. Work on it this way. And I have to be careful with the block so that I will not destroy the block, so that it can still be useful for subsequent projects. And then I will work on the tip of the main wing by hand, and a little bit at the bottom, and also to create the aerofoil effect here. Or to play safe, I will use the narrower edge. Okay, and then check that the edges are what I need. It cannot be too thin, otherwise it will be too weak, because when this airplane is propelled, it is going to be very fast. I don't want the parts to break or shake violently in the air. So work on this as well, the other part. And this is for the tail. Same way. So only stick out a little bit of the tail. Use a sander to flatten it, make it thinner at the end compared to the front. So because I'm a right-hander, I find it a bit difficult to grind the other side, so I will use my hand as well. And after that, and make sure every now and then you check that the edges are correct and it's very even. That's your own quality control. When you're happy, okay, then you put it aside. Now we are ready to put in the main wing, to construct the main wing. So it will be something like this. make sure the table is flat. And in order not for the super glue to stick the parts onto the table, I will need to use a protective layer. According to the instruction, the wingtip is supposed to be elevated by 1 inch. So I used the brush that came together with the sender as a guide to lift up the wingtip, and then I will measure. So it's not good yet. Push in a bit more. Still not there. A little bit more. Almost. Almost there. Yes. So carefully apply small drops of super glue in the joint area. And then it sets. Notice the base that I use has a plastic bag wrapped around the working mat so that the parts will not be glued onto the table. Okay, so one side is done. Let it set. Again, carefully remove. Still good. So carefully remove this side and then be prepared to work on the other wing tip. Action is the same. 1 inch. A little bit too much. Yep, we're good. Small drop again. Because I notice I have a bit of a gap here, so what I will do is to sprinkle a bit of sawdust that came from sanding the wood just now. Spread it a bit, make it clean. In the front also. Now, 2 more drops. so that the super glue will hold the sawdust together to give it a stronger bond. Okay. That's it. Since the super glue is still a little bit moist, so it can still incorporate a little bit of sawdust inside. But whatever material you put in, be aware that the more we put in, the heavier it will weigh, which is no good. Now the main wing is done. Carefully take it out. Check for dimension again. Still good. Still good. Now position the wing right in the middle and turn it around. Hold it. Get ready the super glue. And let it set. Okay, the main wing is done, which seems easy because of the fact that the body is laser cut, so it's very flat, so it will fit in nicely to be perpendicular to the main wing. Now what's next will be the tail fins. Use a pencil to mark on both sides. Even if I mark in the middle, it cannot be used because afterwards the middle part will be blocked by the body. So I need to make sure I have two lines here that I can see later on, like that. Okay, I'll position the tail in the middle, centralized, and this piece of wood is for me to elevate it by 1/16 of an inch, because the tail will need to be inclined a bit for it to turn. I'll put 2 drops of super glue, let it dry. It will set very fast. Now it's the time to put the tail. I will need to make sure that the tail is vertical, which is difficult. Just to be sure, just 1 drop first. Before it sets, then I can lift it up and take a look. Oops. Sometimes this happens. a little bit. Oops. So I need to put one more drop. And hold it. And when you hold it, do your very best not to breathe, so that your hands can be as steady as possible. I think I'm done. Okay, good. The next step is to put in the hook. And instead of forcing the hook in, you will use a tiny drill. Mark the position according to the floor plan. Drill. I need to take care of 2 dimensions. Occasionally check left and check right. Make sure I'm not off in any way. Okay, done. Check for position. Okay. Compare with the floor plan. I think I'm good. At this point, I'll put 1 drop of super glue at the joint area. Followed by using the given thread. Sometimes I would use unbreakable nylon. Okay, hold it there and use super glue without gluing my own fingers. The super glue is for bonding the nylon, or the thread in this case, into one piece with the body. Okay, good. Almost done. Now keep the super glue properly so that it can be used again very nicely for the next time. The key to be able to use the super glue for a longer time is make sure the tip is clean. Okay. Keep it properly, make sure it's standing up. Once it falls down, too bad, the glue will spread and you will clog up the opening and you will have a hard time accessing it. Instead of using the original tip, normally I will use an extra tip, finer tip, for access to glue. Now put it aside. Take some of the white tack and make sure your fingers are clean. Work on the white tack. And make sure it's soft already, and then you can mount it onto the tip of the airplane or the nose of it. Wrap it around. Work with small quantities first. Okay, when it is too much, remove it, remove part of it. Not enough, and you notice especially when the airplane would go fly up and stall and plunge, then you need to put a bit more. Okay, adjust it until your flight time is the best. Notice this glider has a tail. This part is for holding during launch, and it has got a hook in front for the catapult.